For his bath toy, his mother gave him a toaster. His father carried around a picture of the kid who came with his new wallet. And until he was 13, Brice thought his name was Shut Up. As a boy, he suffered from dyslexia. Fortunately, he was also cross-eyed, so he could read okay. When Brice was a kid, he used to pray every night for a new bike. Then he finally realized that the Lord doesn't work that way. So he went out and stole a bike and then prayed for forgiveness. Things didn't improve a great deal as Brice grew older. For example, in high school, he was the only kid who got stood up for the mother-son dance. His parents hung a sign on his bedroom door that said, "Checkout time is 18." He even flunked American history in high school, which is really surprising. When Brice was a kid, there wasn't much of it to learn. Very few people know this, but Brice attended USC. Some say Brice never really got into campus life and wasn't very popular. Not true. For nearly a year, he dated a USC cheerleader who, in one of those amazing coincidences that crop up in life, was also named Brice. Brice paid for part of his education by selling personal address books. Actually, they were old telephone books. He told his customers to simply cross out the names and addresses of people they didn't know. Early on, Brice's attitude toward marriage was not a positive one. We all know that bigamy is having one wife too many. Brice felt monogamy was the same thing. He viewed a bachelor as a man who didn't make the same mistake once. But then he met Joanne, and all those thoughts went out the window. Early in his career, Brice went into the auto parts business. He had a nondescript warehouse in a rather seedy part of town. Being the modest man that he was, he had no sign on the building. Those in the know simply referred to it as Brice's Chop Shop. Business was going well until one day a group of policemen entered the building without even the courtesy of a knock. Brice and all of his employees were arrested, and it was at this time he met an enterprising young attorney, Rich Hutton. Rich had just hung out his shingle and was anxious for any kind of case, even one in which the accused was so obvious. In a legal flurry, Rich filed a writ of habeas corpus, which is Latin for body of the habeas, and a writ of mandamus. He didn't know what that was, but it sounded powerful and demanding. He threatened to file writs of corpus delicti, caveat emptor, Ides of March, and Augustus Caesar also. The prosecuting attorney who caught the case, a young Steve Cooley, who was trying desperately to avoid the attention of his bosses, decided the best approach was a plea bargain. So Brice gave up all his employees who received prison sentences. Brice, of course, walked away a free man. The employees have by now served their sentences and been deported. Brice did manage to salvage something from his experience. So if anyone needs the left front fender and hood of a '73 Mercedes, particularly if you're looking for Bavarian cream color, call Brice. He also has a radio from a '69 BMW with an 8-track tape player that works perfectly. There are others too numerous to mention, but an email list is available. It was about this time that Brice's wife had her credit card stolen. Brice never did report it to the police. The thief was spending less than Joanne did. Brice then went into the countertop business. He barely scraped along until he came across a new product called Corian. He was one of the first to adopt this new material. Still, business was very slow. Brice mentioned to his parents that he might have to move back home if the business didn't pick up pretty quick. Dad immediately ordered 11,221 square feet of stuff, and now has a Corian driveway and pool deck. Joanne's mother installed Corian siding on her house, and her brother tore out his lawn and now has a Corian front yard. The entire family also sports Corian dentures. Brice's business prospered, partly because he withheld employment taxes from his employees, but never bothered to file them with the government. One day, without so much as a by your leave, several IRS agents raided the business and arrested everyone in sight. So it was back to Rich Hutton, still desperate for work, not having to start a contract. Rich, recognizing that he needed help in the worst way, called in Jim Ryder, his consulting accountant. In a marathon session with the IRS, Jim explained the math of Brice's accounting system. After 2 hours of Jim's explanation, 2 of the agents threw up their hands in defeat, and 2 others were said to be weeping quietly in the backyard. So while his employees marched off to jail, Brice retired to his mini mansion in the hills of Arcadia, which, by the way, has a Corian roof. Brice reports that it sheds water well, but cautions against cutting anything on it. Lately, Brice has been spending more and more time reading the Bible. Phil Wood was pleased to see this new level of devotion in Brice's life. Little does he know that as Brice is getting older, he's just cramming for finals. A couple of years ago, the Rotary Nominating Committee unanimously selected Brice to be president after being turned down by 72 other members. The rest is history. We have now enjoyed a year of his life. And contrary to all expectations, the Arcadia Rotary Club is still in business.